The Book of Lore, Prologue, written by Main 6. Life has been peaceful in the world of Foenum, the inhabitants of this world. Furry, four-footed, hooved, have thrived for generations, creating culture, building society. They lived happily, with sweet, grassy pastures at their disposal, and great expansive fields to gallop across. They were free. But it hasn't always been so. Long ago, they shared their world with others, also furry and four-footed, but these creatures had teeth, sharp teeth. They were predators and they filled the ungulates of Foenum with fear. No one knows exactly just when or how the predators disappeared, but most famous legend says that a great elder, long of leg, long of horn, and long of beard, had finally grown weary of living in fear. A desert creature, this bearded prophet hailed from the time of pharaohs and pyramids, and most importantly, magic. Guided by the souls of her ancestors, she discovered a portal her predecessors used as a passageway to the afterlife. It led to a void, a limbo-like antechamber, a lobby, if you will, with countless other portals that led to other worlds. She floated in the abyss. Behind her was the door to Foenum itself, and before her was an empty realm she called the Hold. This place, she knew, was where the predators belonged. Under her wise guidance, the nations of Foenum united against the predators. After a long and costly war, they drove the Toothed Ones through Limbo and into the Hold. There, the prophet locked them away, using an enchanted key she made from one of her magnificent horns. For good measure, she locked the door to Foenum as well, so that no one could enter their world uninvited and ensuring peace for Foenum forever. But nothing lasts forever. They are coming back, all of them. The wolves, the lions, the hyenas, the crocodiles, the bears, the jaguars, and many, many more. Ghost-like figures, dark and misty, were glimpsed just outside the limits of cities or towns. Sometimes they even floated through encampments, or followed not far behind in nomadic herds. Their glowing, angry eyes hinted at where they were, but it was the sharp, shining teeth that told all. Eventually one spoke. "Do not fear us, grass-eater," it said to a terrified foal, alone on the edge of a prairie. "We are merely scouts here to warn you. The bearded prophet's magic is finally wearing thin. We have broken her lock, and soon enough we will break your lock so our kind may return to Foenum. Led by the most horrible of us all, the Devourer. The predators are returning, and they are hungry." The elders conferred for the first time in generations. They knew that with the prophet's key, they could renew the magic and strengthen the locks. But they knew it would only take the bravest, the strongest, the most skilled among them to get past the Devourer, to even reach the door to the Hold. They had to find a champion, the Keykeeper. Without the prophet's guidance, the nations of Foenum could not find it in themselves to come together to choose one Keykeeper. Instead, every nation, bison from the plains, goats from the mountains, antelopes from the valleys, equines from the steppes, camels from the deserts, deers from the forests, and countless others, choose their own champion to face the Devourer and save the world. But it is the only one with the key who will be able to reach Limbo through Foenum's portal. So these champions must hunt down the key for themselves. To fulfill their duty, they must take the key from whichever quote-unquote imposter happens to have it. One-on-one, horn against hoof against antler, until the greatest emerges champion of them all, the protector of Foenum. He or she shall face the Devourer, and lock him and his kind back to the realm of their banishment. And if he or she does not, all the ungulates of Foenum shall surely perish. Chapter 1. The Future Belongs to the Young. Under a cornflower blue sky, filled with billowing white clouds, an enormous herd of cattle gather across an expanse of tall, brown-green grass. Their noses pointed at the center of the herd, focused intently. Their homes, dozens of dusty-covered wagons, surround the group. Mumbles of concern and curiosity mix in with the long, drawn-out moos. Their attention is fixed on a simple, newly constructed stage, the wood still pale and clean. A massive brown bull stands atop before its herd, his horns impressively long, sprouting horizontally from his head, their black tips curved forward just at the ends. He wears a heavy wooden yoke to signify his station. He is the head bull, Texas. Beside him is a strong, blue-eyed cow, her short coarse coat patched white and tan. His wife, Minnesota. Gather around, friends. I've got news from outside our beloved home, the prairie. She calls out to the throng of bovines. We've all heard the tale of our old story of the Horned Prophet, the little lady who locked away our old enemies a long time ago, keeping us safe to roam this country, looking for sweet grass and golden sunset just like Mother Foenum intended for her calves. Well, I'll tell you now the tale. It was true. And the story? Well, a new chapter is starting. Tex's eyes narrowed with gravity. The predators, they're fixing to come back. The crowd shifts, voices raised with concern. Minnesota tried her best to calm them down. The last thing they needed was a stampede. Now, don't get your tails in a knot, folks. There's something we can do about it, don't you know? Yup, Texas continues. Those varmints ain't here yet. And with the Prophet's key, the lock can be mended. We can still lock them back up in the hold, but it will take someone with a strong moral fiber. Someone rough, tough, and bullheaded to boot. So naturally, that means one of us, cattle kind. Texas looks out to his people, some with faces twisted with concern, others with determination, and others still with anger. Are there any volunteers? The cattle rush the stage, mooing with purpose. That's right, Minnesota calls out, and motions to an old rain barrel at the end of the stage. Just put your name on the barrel right there, and we'll be picking lottery style, don't you know? One by one, each bovine presses their nose in a dish full of mud, and slams it onto the piece of torn cloth, stamping it with their unique, individual prints. They fill the barrel to overflowing with their names. Spread the word to our brethren across the prairie, Texas informs them. Yeah, we'll be drawing a nose print of the champion tomorrow morning, Minnesota finishes. For the rest of the day, the bulls and the cows from across the nation migrate to the main wagon train to throw their nose prints into the barrel. But it is not until late at night that the final name is added. The entire herd sleeps, as, under the dim light of a half moon, a small calf stealthily approaches the empty stage, as if doing something forbidden. The young one looks around carefully, makes the print, and adds it to the barrel before quickly dashing away. The next day, just after the sun rises, the herd reconvenes, eager to find out who among them will be chosen to save the land. Friends, Texas announces, get ready to meet your champion. Minnesota shoves her whole head into the barrel and emerges with the fateful name. Texas inspects it closely, then gasps in horror. No, it can't be! Minnesota, unable to speak with the print in her mouth, questions her husband with darting, concerned eyes. Our youngest daughter, he cries out. Arizona? The crowd gasps. Minnesota gasps. The nose print falls from her lips into the ground before the hooves of the young calf. She bravely stands before the herd, determined to claim her title. She is small, her horns only just budding. Young lady, Texas scolds, his voice a combination of fear and indignation. What were you thinking? Sorry, Pa. Arizona yells right back, unintimidated. I'm cattle kind too, and I love the prairie just as much as anybody else. Minnesota soon steps in to reason with her husband. It's the law of the prairie, don't you know? Her name was drawn. It really is her right. She's too young, he proclaims. The future belongs to the young. Let a young one protect it, she defies. Then it is my right as head bull to take your place. Not unless I defeat you first, Pa. Very well, calf. But remember, you mess with the bull. Texas paws to the ground and lowers his immense horns. You get the horns! Minnesota rolls her eyes as he booms. Oh boy, Minnesota says to herself, shaking her head. Here we go again. Without a moment's hesitation, Arizona rushes to her dad. He is prepared though. He lowers his head and throws her high into the air. She flips nose over tail through the air and lands square on her feet, the force of her landing rocking the bull off balance. Don't go easy on me, old-timer. Texas was surely surprised, not just by her sass, but also her strength. He narrows his eyes, resolved to give her his all. He rears up and brings his massive hooves down on her, but she is fast. She rolls and weaves between the ferocious stomps, unencumbered by the deafening booms of hooves on the ground. Finally, he pins her by the tail. Ha! Don't mess with Texas. Minnesota face hooves. Unbelievable. The calf kicks him in the face. Stunned, he stammers back, releasing her tail. They position themselves for a final face-off. Texas lets out a mighty bellow and catapults himself towards his daughter. The entire herd was shaken by the thundering of his hooves. Arizona waits just a moment, then coils. She lowers her head, raises her hoof, then pounds the dirt, rocketing herself towards the raging bull like a battering ram. The impact throws him into the air, but before he lands, Arizona backs off to the side of the stage, twists her hind legs before her, and lands a mighty buck square to the chest. The herd watches, mouths agape as their powerful leader is launched into the air, spinning uncontrollably, before falling with a cacophonous, booming thud. And when the dust clears, the bovines see their champion. Arizona stands on her fallen father, a vision of youthful independence and strength. "No use crying over spilled milk," she crows triumphantly. Minnesota winces. "Oh jeez, come on." The cattle cheers. "Moo! Yeehaw! Wee doggy!" Minnesota locks in, filled with pride. "Well done, little calf," she says softly to herself. "Yup, you betcha." Texas gets up and watches as Arizona is swarmed by the crowd, cheering for their champion. "Moo! Our champion!" They hoot and holler. "This calls for a hoedown! Get along, little cowgirl! Moo!" With a smug, knowing expression, Minnesota sidles up to Texas. She looks at an angry, but humble Texas. With her great weight, she nudges him with her shoulder, knocking him off balance, if only slightly. He gives her a side eye before looking out to his little girl, carried high on the backs of the happy brethren. His face softens and a proud smile crosses his lips as Minnesota outs her head on his shoulder. With a hint of a tear on his mighty brown eye, he opens his mouth to speak. Minnesota braces herself for the worst. "The future belongs to the young," he says, quietly expressing his approval. Minnesota breathes a sigh of relief. That wasn't so bad. End of Chapter 1. Hello, Airy Pony, Snogwritts here. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, be sure to leave a like. First of all, I want to apologize for the lack of readings lately, especially that I kind of got off schedule, especially with that video that I uploaded, so I'm sorry for that. But hey, I'm back with another reading and I hope you enjoyed it. I post readings like this every Saturday, and if you happen to enjoy them, please feel free to subscribe. Anyways, I'll see you guys later and take care. This is Snogwritts signing out.